welcome to the Regular Joe's podcast. I'm Dave Pisani.
I'm Barry Kay.
I'm Todd Pleasant.
And I'm the irregular Joe, Tom Spina.
He is the irregular Joe.
Welcome, irregular Joe.
We have regular Joes, we have semi-regular Joes, and we have an irregular Joe.
That's right, yes. My Joe has a longer pant leg on one side.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah. Get them at the discount rack, so it's a bargain.
That's absolutely right.
There you go. And it's a bargain. 4 Joes for the price of 3, although you pay nothing.
For what they're paying, I think it's a deal.
Yeah, without question.
Deal.
I mean, we
should just be thankful that you're on this week and not last week, Tom, because last week we made the guests watch the movie Zardoz.
Oh, gosh.
Have you seen it?
Do you... Wait, we get paid as guests, right?
Yeah,
You get paid with the pleasure of having to watch... honestly... I think most of the guests have to actually pay $2.99 to watch that because it's not free anywhere.
Oh, my God.
That is true.
That is a little rough. But a fitting tribute.
I officially call that the worst movie I've ever seen.
It's up there.
It's out there.
It's hard.
Really, so I will tell you this. I wanted to, as part of each of your Christmas presents, I started doing research this week, and I wanted to buy you the Wizard of Oz book used in Zardoz. And they mocked up that book. They used an existing book, but changed the title, the way the font and the title were, so that he could do the reveal. So it's actually one very famous edition that's widely available in the UK, but they actually changed the title graphic on it.
Interesting.
So it doesn't exist. So.
That's more interesting than the entire movie.
That's way more interesting than the entire movie.
Also, his gun is not just strictly a Webley. I did all this research this week. But anyways, it is...
Zardoz affected him.
It is a Webley Frosby automatic revolver, okay? Which, anybody, it's a very famous gun appeared... It's famous in one other film, which...
It's not Indiana Jones Webley.
No, it is not. Okay, so if you look at this gun, it's actually got kind of like along the cylinder, it's got kind of like cutouts that run kind of diagonally. As it fires, okay, the recoil turns the cylinder and cocks it. So it's actually an automatic revolver.
Oh, okay.
So you don't cock it's not double action with a long trigger pull, and it's not single action where you cock it. When you fire the gun, it cycles the cylinder for the next round. And the Maltese Falcon, it was the gun that Sam Spade's partner was killed with in the Maltese Falcon. And
also more interesting than the movie Zardoz.
Also, all of that
one was only slightly more interesting.
Are far more interesting than this film as a whole.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've dedicated 1.5 episodes to that piece of shit. So let's not do that. So Tom, thanks for coming on. You've been on 3 or 4 times, and we totally appreciate it. And
thanks for having me. I assume you guys will punch my card, and in a couple more episodes, I'll get a free sandwich.
Something like that. Yeah,
exactly.
Get something.
Right. It's a ticket to Zardoz.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the premiere to Zardoz 2.
You're working way up to the free Zardoz loincloth. Let us know your size, and we'll work on that.
Yeah, we'll get you one of those.
That's something have you ever had any loincloths from Zardoz come through the shop to have?
No, never from Zardoz.
Oh, good.
But I'm leaving the door open.
They made a lot of those weird 2-sided heads. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen one of those show up in an auction.
I have also seen one. I've seen one in an auction.
And how much did they pay the bidder
Profiles
to take
auction?
It? Yep. You're going to pay you $300 just to take it off someone's hands.
Right.
It's just embarrassing.
Or at least $2.99.
Barry,
there are people who collect things from these infamously bad movies. So somebody wants that. I can't imagine
that
who.
is somebody's, unlike another movie that some people don't like, that is somebody's favorite movie.
Somebody somewhere's favorite movie. Yep.
There's Willow stuff in the prop store catalog. Barry,
there is, and that stuff looks awesome. Yes, I'm going to bid on all of it.
I've gotten to see, at the Lucasfilm Archives, a lot of the Willow stuff, obviously, but there's in one private collection that I know of, there's a full General Kale outfit
Wow.
And we did like a mannequin for it, but it's just really just cool to see in
That may
person.
be up
And
for
that's
auction now.
just
I think that's what's in the catalog, isn't
is
it?
the full one in there? I haven't.
There is
I've
one in the auction, but I'm not sure if it's full or if it's partial.
I just
Gotcha.
looked through it today.
Yeah.
I was like,
for all we know, it could be the same one. Sometimes that happens where we'll work on stuff and then it turns up. There's actually a few things we worked on in that catalog. Now that I'm thinking about it, there was the Batman cowl that's in there. We restored and mounted.
Ooh.
The Michael Keaton one, right?
Yes. Yeah. And we've got a Keaton life cast and a shoulder buck that we made to go with that. It was actually based on a Keaton Head and Shoulders life cast, the one that they used for those masks. The problem is that each mask has, shrunken a little bit over time, and they're each slightly different in how they've changed over the years, and they're all very fragile. So a lot of times people think like, oh, well, you'll just pull a copy of his life cast, and since that's what they sculpted it on, it'll just fit perfect. But it doesn't. And if you were to try and slide that thing over the life cast as is, it would just destroy the cowl because it's so fragile. So what we end up having to do is every time we do one of these, we pull a casting out of those molds, but then we have to go in and modify it and chop it in pieces and make it slightly smaller so that it fits right. Sometimes some of the cowls are a little stretched out in the jaw, so you have to extend the jaw forward a little bit.
Jeez.
Some of them have a more or less flexible neck, so you've got to cut the thing in smaller pieces to get it inside and then put it together inside the head essentially without stretching the neck, and then assemble that onto the torso. It's the sort of thing that we get people all the time who will ask us about this stuff, like, oh, I've got a Keaton cowl and I saw you did a display, and when we give them the price, they're kind of like, why is it so much? And it's like, well, because it's going to literally take someone 3 weeks just to put that cowl safely on a totally customized bust made to fit it
what's funny, and I
Tom, when we were in the shop,
you
were 3D printing a head.
Yes.
So I imagine you're probably like a couple of years away from the point where you could just say, okay, I'm going to print Michael Keaton's upper torso at 90%. At 85%.
So we actually did something like that recently for a build, and I'm trying to think if it's on the site or not, so I'll hold off just in case.
Yep.
But it was an actor who we were lucky enough to get a life scan of the actor's head, and the client wanted it to fit the costume, and also wanted us to modify the face so that it didn't have realistic features. He wanted it form but no features, but no detail. And it was to make sure that the costume on display was what stood out in this, because he's got a screen-used costume from a movie. He's not making a wax figure of the character. He wants to display the costume.
I think I would go with that, too. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and it was a form-fitting mask, so it was important that we had the right actor's life cast. Otherwise, nothing would fit right. But interestingly enough, when you printed it at full scale, it was too big to fit the helmet on. And it's one of these things where, human skin squishes. So we had to, digitally squish the ears and then, digitally scale everything down just a few percent to make this fit right. And it's stuff that you don't think about. You assume like, oh, I've got the actor's life scan done, and it's just
it's funny because, and I don't know if this is and I won't mention the project. I don't know if it's the same project that we were there for, but this process you're describing is exactly what we saw you doing when we were there, because you showed us the thing that, I'll just say the word helmet, and you showed us the head, and it clearly wouldn't have fit on there, and you were showing us how you were cutting it, and I remember you doing that when we were there. So, I would imagine you have to do that for lots of things, but
yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's a practical thing, sometimes it's a digital thing. It depends on the project. It depends what assets we have on that particular actor or character, or what we can get our hands on. Sometimes you're sculpting the head from scratch, be that digitally or practically. It's a really interesting time. We've gotten now both filament and resin printers, and we have a nice high-res resin printer that is also fairly sizable. So, we can print a human head And it's not like you would, it would come off a filament printer where it's just lots of lines. It's a human head that looks like it was sculpted in clay and is, with a little bit of cleanup, is basically a ready to go part.
That saves all the beheadings you guys had to do out in the...
Right. No, exactly. And we had, there were issues with the neighbors, but
there's always removal.
There's always someone who's got a problem with human heads being taken.
Legal fees must be going way down over there. That's great.
That's right. Well, especially there's fewer neighbors now, weirdly. But it's like the Night at the Wax Museum over here, House of Wax. But one of the neat things with the printer, we actually just did a couple of Star Trek projects, and one of them was an alien from Star Trek Next Generation. I believe it was a Solanogen alien, which is, I'm probably mangling the name. But they're these sort of terrorist aliens that, if I'm remembering right, they take Riker at some point, and they're kind of like hovering over him on an operating table. And they have these creepy pincer hands. Oh,
yeah, okay.
And the client had the robe and the face. It was a prosthetic face for him, but didn't have the hands. And, didn't have a ton of money to put into it to practically sculpt two separate clay hands, a left and a right, and then to mold those and then to cast them and all of that stuff. So what we did was we digitally sculpted one hand, flipped it to make the other hand, because this is just one part of a bigger display. And they're these big pincer hands, so it's not like there was much to go on. We didn't have a ton of great reference, and then we just posed each one differently digitally, printed them in resin, and those are the final parts. We were able to set them up with mannequin hardware so that we could have a pop-in joint, ball detent in the each wrist, and that's it. They got painted, they got finished.
That's great.
Still a bit of work. And still, you still have to pay the guy to digitally sculpt the same way you have to get a guy to practically sculpt. But in the case with these hands, it was a savings because now you're literally just doing one, and we save the mold process, and it makes it possible to expand on some of these displays that maybe otherwise wouldn't be cost effective. Someone has Arnold Schwarzenegger's costume from Terminator, or something along those lines. You can afford to invest a little bit in elements to get sculpted to go into that display to make it beautiful. If you're talking about a guest alien on a single Star Trek Next Gen episode out of how many seasons, maybe that doesn't have the value to support that. Now we've got some other ways to get there, and it's neat, and it lets us bring in people with different skills, and it is something that keeps the studio moving on a lot of different projects that we wouldn't necessarily be doing, which is great.
Oh, that's cool. Technology.
That's awesome.
Gotta love it.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. And it works hand in hand with the other stuff we're doing as well. There's always room for practical stuff, and we've always got practical things going. But it's such a great tool. I don't know, it's not far away from being, I look at these resin printers and the pricing on the large format ones is getting, extremely reasonable from a business standpoint. And there are options out there now that, we'll print a whole head, we'll print a whole helmet, we'll, could print, a C-3PO torso probably on some of these resin printers that are, $10,000 or under, not crazy prices at all when you're talking business equipment. And that gets you into a really interesting place when you can do high-res, three-dimensional printed parts that can, if they're sculpted well, can rival a practical piece.
Well, and in the case of that, like that alien costume that you were talking about, like that, it's a fine line because that probably would look terrible just on an off-the-shelf mannequin.
Yeah,
so it needs something more than that, but maybe, like you said, it doesn't need the investment in the
right. You're not going to sink $10,000 into that to be able to have a custom mannequin and a couple of custom sculpted hands. And this is stuff that takes a lot of time when you sit down and start doing it. But one of the cool things is most of the people we use that do digital, I would say, we have 3 or 4 guys we use on a regular basis, and most of them began doing practical. And, in fact, that to me is probably the most important thing when we're dealing with digital people, because then you get people that can think ahead to the mold and cast process and know how parts are going to fit together or not, and can, key things intuitively. But there's a way that, you look at the way Rick Baker's digital work is, and he's always posting stuff like that on his Instagram. If people aren't following Rick Baker's Instagram, I'm not breaking any news here telling people to go follow this, but if you're into cool monsters and makeup and movie stuff, find Rick Baker's Instagram account and follow it. But he does a ton of digital work too. And when he does digital stuff, you can see that it's done by a hand that's done practical stuff. There are things that I see digital only guys do, and this isn't always the case, but there's things that you can look at where you can kind of go like, okay, that's a digital sculpt by a digital guy. And then sometimes where you look and you're like, that's someone that's someone who's had his hands in clay for decades. One of my favorites, the guy who did those alien hands, and he also did the Jabba the Hutt maquette, the concept maquette that we offer on Regal Robot now. His name is Tony Cipriano. He's old Long Island guy. He's actually from Brooklyn originally, and he's a brilliant clay sculptor and someone who I've looked up to for a long time on that stuff. And he's transitioned over the years to doing digital as well. And his digital is so good because he's got that foundation. I love being able to see that come through.
Adam Savage did an interview a couple weeks back with some of the guys that worked on Mandalorian, and they were saying the same thing, like that they had been physical sculptors and that they transitioned to digital, and that physical experience was like a huge help going into the digital.
Oh, it's invaluable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anybody out there who's doing digital sculpting, if you've not done practical, get a Stan Winston studio account and look up Don Lanning's videos and sculpt along with him. It's like painting with Bob Ross, and it's just freaking fun to get your hands dirty,
Yeah, and what no better time than in COVID lockdown.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Stay at home, get some clay, have some fun.
There you go. Exactly.
And sculpt something too.
Yeah. What's it been through the shop that you could talk about? Anything else?
Oh gosh.
Pinch your hands.
We have a lot in the shop, and I'm trying to juggle in my brain what's talkable or not.
There's a gremlin. There's always a gremlin.
We did just put up a Chris Wayless gremlin. And that's actually something that came through recently. It was a client who's very anxious to post the thing, so I figured since he was sharing it, we might as well get it on our site. We're extremely overdue to share stuff on our site, and it's just kind of that one. We put our image tags on it to send it to him, and I'm like, the pictures are already tagged. I might as well just get this up. Let's see here. That was a Chris Wayless gremlin, first movie. I love the second movie Gremlins, the Rick Baker stuff. Absolutely stunning sculpts. There's a bunch of variation, a lot of character, and they are sculpted to and finished to an extremely high standard. You've got paint jobs that were either done by or mastered by Steve Wang, who basically reinvented movie painting at the time. But there's magic in that first movie Gremlin. It's a little bit rougher, it's a little boogity, but there's so much character in that face and in that sculpt, and this is only the third first movie Gremlin puppet we've had through the shop. We've had dozens and dozens of the Rick Baker team Gremlins, mainly because they made so many.
Yeah, there were so many more in that second film.
They upped the volume quite a bit. So.
Oh, quite a bit, yeah.
And the movie theater scene.
Prop Store did the auctions with them, and he put some in profiles before that. So, there's a lot out there in private hands. But yeah, so it's really special when one of the Wayless ones comes through. And this guy was no different. He was totally beheaded, which happens a lot with puppets that are foam latex and or in this case a mix of foam latex and polyfoam. They put these things on a stand, and the stand basically is a pipe that goes through and just hits the head. So that just means all of the weight of the body is hanging on the neck. And over time, that weight takes its toll and just rip. And we've had that with first movie and second movie Gremlins. We have reheaded so many Gremlins in our shop. And it's like a badge of honor. So, has your Gremlin lost its head? Send him to Tom Spina Designs and we'll put him back in his place. But yeah, it's so cool. So yeah, that guy we just recently finished. We are currently working on some cool stuff from the 95 Power Rangers. This is stuff that's a very long-term project. It's not going to be something that we show anytime soon, but right now we're getting through some of the villains. We have quite a number of costumes to go through from that movie to restore head to toe. Huge projects, each of them. There's a lot going on that I can't talk about, I'm realizing as I'm saying this out loud. We've just recently sold through on the Rancor replica we did, which was really exciting. And so that was about a month ago. We put those up for sale and they sold out in a day and a half, all 83 pieces. So that was exciting.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. And we're just, production is just kind of starting on those. We've had all the samples come back from the casting house, and we're putting together all of our paint samples and masters along the way to prep for production on those, which will probably start just after the holidays. We've also just spent a lot of time gearing up for Regal Robots Black Friday sales, which, oh my gosh.
Hey, it's Black Friday as you're listening to this.
It is Black Friday right now.
If you like deals, and I know you do, if you like Star Wars decor and cool stuff, go to regalrobot.com and explore the site. Go to the news page. There's a summary there of everything that's on sale for the weekend. The sale runs through Cyber Monday on Monday, and tomorrow is Small Business Saturday. And we are, as you guys know, having been to the secret Tom Spina Designs Regal Robot Bunker. We are a small business. There's only business. Yes. 14 or 15 of us there at any given time. And, everybody's hands-on. Everybody is, when you get our stuff, a lot of it actually has handwritten SKUs on it. We have this, I want it to look like it came from like a boutique bakery. You get your Tauntaun magnet and like, you look at the box and I'm like, either there's a cupcake in here or I'm going to open this and it's going to be a hand-painted magnet, but it's all stuff that is hand-cast, hand-painted, hand-finished, hand-packaged, hand-packed, made in the USA. None of it's coming from overseas in a container filled with mass-produced stuff that came off some assembly line or machine that's injection molding things. And it's because we really love this stuff and we love what we do. And we've had so much cool stuff come out because of Mando Mondays. We've now had new releases. So prior to that, we had 2 or 3 releases in September and then October. And then for Mando Mondays, we had, 4 or 5 of them already. And we even have another one coming December 7th. But yeah, so in the last few months, we've started our line of wood art plaques, which are these awesome 3/4 inch thick wood plaques with printed covers on them, printed tops rather. And they have things like the Darth Vader in Flames patch from the Empire Strikes Back crew, the Wampa warning sign from the cutscene that C-3PO pulls off the door.
Awesome. I love that one. Stop on that one because that is so. There was a scene that was cut out of Empire, right?
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and that's the stuff we love to do. You can go anywhere for like the movie poster. You can go anywhere for some art of, Luke or Leia or Rey or whoever Kylo, whoever your favorite character is. Like we want to do the stuff that was like proppy and behind the scenes, and you got to be in the club. You got to know to get our stuff. So yeah, like those were the first 2 things we released in that line. And it's most companies would be out there going like, okay, we want to launch big. We want to have, the movie poster from A New Hope and, we're like, can we take that little yellow sign that nobody can really read, and that 3PO tears off in a cutscene that's not even in the movie? And they're like, what? And you're like, well, it's in the trailer.
Yeah, it's one of those trust us moments. We know what we're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, and so far that yellow Wampa sign is the most popular out of those.
Is it really?
So then we added the Docking Bay 35 sign, which is a combination of print and engraving on that one. So the 35 is actually engraved into the wood on that, and the perimeter is engraved with a rib pattern, kind of like the door ribbing on in the Mos Eisley. And then just for this sale, we have now released 4 new plaques, and they are based on the 4 different vinyl carry cases that we used to have as kids. Wow. And if you guys haven't seen them yet, if you go to regalrobot.com and click the news, you'll see the teaser image of these. And
they're also on our Instagram feed. We posted
there you go.
Today.
And thank you for that. Yeah. But that to me is like instant, just lightning bolt back to 1979, 1980, and getting that. I actually got the Star Case, the knockoff version.
Yes.
Really? But I saw this on the shelf and I wanted it, but my mom thought the Star Case would be better.
What's awesome about those is that for those of us like you and I, Tom, we collect the toys, and so we have this stuff still. But like some of those images are things that people probably haven't seen in 30 years, and when they see it again, they go, "Oh my God!" It comes like rushing back, because that artwork is not artwork. It's not like it was stock art that they used in a million things. Those case covers were kind of unique.
Yeah, each one was made specifically for that piece. And there are these great collages of characters. There's one of them on the Empire A. There's one Star Wars, there's 2 Empire, and 1 Return of the Jedi. And there's the first version of the Empire one is the one that has a big Yoda head in the right top corner. There is an Ugnaught on the bottom right that will haunt your dreams. It's this really cool, faded out, red lighted kind of like, it looks like he's looking out at you from the darkness and into your soul. And it's just, but it's one of these things you don't even notice. Like I never noticed that as a kid on it, but then you look at it years later and you're like, was that Ugnaught always there? Like, that's terrifying.
Now, are those plaques larger than the cases were?
Yes, they are. We blew them up a little bit, just so we wanted them to be a big enough size that you could put one of them on the wall and it wouldn't look bad, but small enough that you could get all 4 and put them together. So they're 17.5 inches long by 12 inches tall.
Yeah, that's a good size. Yeah.
So it's I'm excited. So far, we've only just, at the point where we're recording this, we've only just teased them. But we've gotten a really great response. And it's like, I knew I was excited about this stuff, but it's always nice when people actually react well to it, because sometimes I'm excited about dumb stuff like Zardoz. But
you're not. No one's excited about Zardoz.
Some of what you do might not appeal to a toy collector, but now these cross over into something where the toy collector is like, I have to have those, even though I don't collect the typical Regal Robot stuff.
Right. And maybe that's it'll be a gateway drug. Yeah. But I just think it's cool, because I think a lot of the people who do buy our stuff probably are that type of collector. And I like that we can give them something that's really like in that wheelhouse and is sort of a little wink and a nod to what we all grew up with. So those are on there. We recently released the Gamorrean Guard maquette from The Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. So it's based on the Gamorrean fighters from the first episode. This was actually the concept art that was done for the show, and it was the first thing that Jon Favreau teased about the upcoming season months ago. And as soon as we saw that, I was just like, I've got to find that half-naked Gamorrean sculpt and make a replica of it for people. People need half-naked Praetorian.
I was going to say, you may have been the only one who that was their thought when they first saw that. But
well, and I think I want to say, I don't know, we're probably nearing 100 of them that have found homes. So there's definitely people who wanted them, which was nice.
Oh yeah,
they didn't know they wanted them, but once you see it,
that was what your first thought was. It's like,
of course,
I need that.
Yeah, half naked pig guard. Well,
that's right. Yes.
Sign me up. Yeah. But yeah, so that was really exciting. We got to know Tony McVeigh, who is the original sculptor of that. He also sculpted Salacious Crumb and worked on the man in suit Rancor for Return of the Jedi back in the day. And we actually have Tony working with us on a couple of projects now. So there's some really good stuff in the works with him.
So he sculpted back in the 80s on all that stuff.
And they brought him back.
That's awesome. See, that's great.
To concept for Mandalorian. So, the first season, he actually did the little concept sculpt of Baby Yoda. Really? It's based on the Christian Alsman sketch, but it is the first three-dimensional realization of the new Yoda design, the new Baby Yoda character. And it's amazing. It's like this creepy little old man baby, but it's awesome.
It's so awesome that they keep going back to that original sort of crew of guys, and they've on a number. I mean, we all know about it from the documentary stuff that they've put out, but they've definitely tapped into, a number of people that work on this stuff. And they were saying
that that's one of the great things about this being Star Wars is that everyone who's ever been attached to it still has a love for it. So you can reach out and grab these people. It's not like it's some esoteric thing that they barely remember working on.
And a lot of these guys, thankfully, are still around and still working. So you can actually, grab them.
Yeah, that's and there's some neat stuff coming. We actually, so season 2, there's a few things we did in season 1 that actually reappeared, which was neat. When they went back to the cantina, the IG-88 heads were behind the bar again. When the Tusken showed up, the Tusken was, we built the gaffy stick for the first season with just the quote Tatokia end of the gaffy stick, the wood end of the gaffy stick we sent to them. And so when I see the guy picking the bantha teeth with the gaffy stick,
oh my God, that was the best moment this season.
And I totally missed that the first time.
I got to say, when I saw that, I lost my mind.
It just reminds me of the thing on the end of the gum toothpaste.
Oh, it totally is. It totally is that
thing.
And somebody had to have, at some point, looked at that and said, "That's what the end of the gaffy stick is for." Yeah. It's like, oh yeah.
What's so funny too is that
Favreau, they're like, and we'll get into Mandalorian in a few minutes. They totally let's take obscure found things that were put in the movie 40 years ago and then make
and explain the purpose,
a background, and that's awesome.
Outstanding.
When my son saw that, one of my sons, he said to me, "How come we don't have a gaffy stick?" And it made me wonder, nobody's reproduced that as a licensed prop up till this point. It's surprising.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. I might need one of those. It would look good hanging on the wall down here.
It would. I've got you can't see it from here, and obviously we're audio only for the people at home, right? Thank goodness, my hair just is terrible. Yeah. But I do have one of the Tatokias on the wall. Mine's actually, so I years ago, 20 some odd years ago, had a place in Fiji carve us up a bunch of different Tatokia, and they would send us a few, and I would make some notes, and they'd send us a few more, and I'd make some notes. And we eventually got a batch of about 5 of them that came in that was beautiful and really, really close to the Star Wars style Tatokia from the first movie. And so with that, we took the best one of that, made some modifications to it here, matched up the markings on the handguard, and then we pulled molds off of that. And so that's the mold we've had for years that we used for those ones from Mando. So, and then the same molds were sent to Galaxy's Edge, although they took one of ours and then sort of went the reverse with it. They took our piece and then sent it to a woodworker to reproduce our resin piece in actual wood for Doc Ondor's.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is super cool. And it's cool. Man, Doc Ondor's shop is just, it's like the Mandalorian of shops, It's just filled with so much stuff to just go through and kind of pick out.
I mean, Dave and I were able to go out in California, obviously, last year. And I really was hoping to go again this year, and it's just obviously not happened.
Yeah, we were planning to go to Florida, but
yeah, we had a trip planned as well, as we always do, but that's put off for now.
Yes.
Anyway, but so we actually just it's neat to see stuff like that turn up, and there's Kind of always stuff going, and I'm doing that thing where I'm trying to figure out what else in the shop can we talk about. Anyway, that's probably enough about the show.
Yeah.
There's tons going on.
Is there anything that we've seen? Well, and I know we're going to talk about Mando. Is there anything that we've seen so far in season 2 that you can lay claim to having potentially worked on, or no? Not
for season 2. It's just reuse from season 1 stuff.
Okay.
But I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay,
Well, you could find all of the stuff we've talked about at regalrobot.com. Check out the Black Friday sale.
Please do.
Buy stuff even if it's not on sale. Help the small businesses.
And if you've got props you need restored, you want to look up Tom Spina Designs.
Yeah,
if you have like Star Wars lightsaber stuff, send them to us. We'll
Right.
look them over.
We will
Maybe
authenticate
we'll get
them,
it to Tom,
and
he'll fix
pass
it.
them off to Tom.
Yeah, and we'll do like a display case for you. Yeah, that's a fair
All
deal.
that stuff.
They send it to you, though. Yeah.
We'll
of course.
do that. We're gonna
that gives us a reason to come visit your shop.
Right.
Does.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna get like the Hasbro toy and bring it to you and keep the one. Not that we're
This is what they sent. Is this good?
Is this real?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Unfortunately, I think these days anybody who has anything knows that it should go straight to prop store.
That's right.
Yeah. Boy.
Anyway, speaking of small businesses, our pals at Fanboy Collectibles, check them out, fanboycollectibles.com. All kinds of stuff. Todd, another thing for you. Tweeterhead Batgirl.
It's on its way.
Is it really?
Paid for it this afternoon.
Jesus Christ, you're out of control. That's all.
That was
I
a
know.
pre-order, Dave. I ordered that like 8-9 months ago.
Oh, really?
I have the matching Batman figure from the same series.
Whoever sculpts the women at Tweeterhead does a great job. I mean, maybe
Apparently
just
has seen
a
a woman before. Let's just say that.
a 1-1
Yes.
scale Batgirl. Anyway,
I do love the C-3PO bust with the little
Yep.
Babu freak on his shoulder. That's pretty awesome too.
Did you say Babu Freak? Like,
Isn't that how it's pronounced? Frick?
I don't know. It just,
I thought you said
it
Bobby
just sounds
Freak.
like with that Babu Freak on his
Bobby-
I
shoulder.
thought you
You
said
know?
Bobby
I think it's
Freak.
Frick. Maybe it's Frick. I like to say freak. He sounds better.
That's
that way.
fine. That's
you
fine.
know what I saw was in the Eagle Moss Alien Chestburster mega figure. I didn't even know they were making those Eagle
We
Moss,
saw that at New York Comic Con last year.
and it's made out of metal, painted
Yeah, it's pretty
metal.
cool. It's
I
pretty
don't know.
cool.
Check it out. Buy that if you need it. Mezco, Pops, Sideshow, Hot Toys.
I believe they should be carrying Regal Robots products.
I
We're gonna
think
have
you
to have
should
a
be
talk
in
with
touch. I think this would
we
be an
can talk to
excellent
Sean about
distributor
that.
for your
We'll talk to
product.
Troy. He'd love that.
them. We will put them in touch. If you're listening, fanboys or Fanboy Collectibles, give us a shout. Or I'll bet you guys. Do you guys have a contact for them by any
Yeah.
chance?
We
Yes.
I
certainly
think
do.
we might know a guy.
Okay.
We're gonna get a piece of the action on both ends.
And I will tell
That's
you,
right.
I guarantee you, he's
Daddy's got to get
listening
his beak
because
wet.
the last time I was in the shop, he was listening to our podcast. When I
Yes,
walked
Troy does listen. So Troy,
Nice.
call
and he's a
Tom.
fan.
Troy,
so we'll
just email the shop. Ask for Max. Whatever you do, don't stare at his tattoo.
anyway.
Fanboy
Check 'em out.
Collectibles.
And it is the holiday season. You need to buy yourself a gift if
That's
no
right.
one else is going to buy
Tis
you
the
one.
season for self-gifting, as I demonstrated today.
Exactly.
That's right.
'Cause
That's right.
no one else knows what to get us, so we might as well get it ourselves. Anyway, check them out, fanboycollectibles.com. Check them out at their store in Newtown, Connecticut. Tell them the regular Joe sent you. Okay. Let's talk
Dave takes a drink.
Mandalorian.
Yes. Mandalorian season 2. We've only talked about the first episode so far.
Okay.
We are
weeks
halfway through the.
Are we
second
halfway
season.
through already?
It's
Yeah,
four
unfortunately.
episode 4 of 8. So basically,
eight?
I think we can now look at Mandalorian as basically 46 weeks of waiting for the Mandalorian and 8 weeks of enjoying the Mandalorian. That's life moving forward now.
I agree with that. Watching this season, I feel like I'm getting in Favreau's head, and they put out season 1 trying to get a feel for it. It was so well received, and then season 2 they're like, we're just going for everything, because they are going for it in every single episode and just unlocking old stuff, new concepts. It's out of control. And
I
spoilers,
did not
people.
think they could improve their game the way they did this season. I mean, it's like I've watched every episode twice, caught things the second time, but also like at the end of each first watching, I've been like, whoa.
There's
like an adrenaline rush
in the first season for sure.
Well,
and it's like
they've managed to bring up midichlorians and get away with it.
Get away with it.
But just the pace of some of these episodes and the stuff that happens, I can honestly remember watching first season episodes and saying, wait, that's it? Okay. And a couple of these, I've looked at the running time and said, they squeezed all of that into this. It is amazing.
Yeah,
and
it's definitely moved up a notch, and in such a good way. It's just been so much fun.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that the running time to me is and it's not just from a simple like, oh gee, I just wish there was more kind of point of view. Yeah. I do sort of like, it seems like most episodes end, and I'm just like, man, I wish they would have had just a little more breathing room there.
Yeah,
because there's a few things that would have been cool to settle on for a little bit, or a character to learn just a little more about, or get a little more connected to. I feel like sometimes stuff just kind of blows by. Yes. And I mean, it is cool and it's great for the rewatchability, and to just,
definitely it's about rewatching. Yeah, I feel like.
But
they're not bound to the 22-minute episodes, so
which
they
is
can
nice.
do whatever they want.
Yeah, this fourth episode was like being on a treadmill on, tacked all the way up. It was just crazy. They were running every second, but it was great because it was such a change of pace. It was a different thing altogether. And
that fourth episode there was so much in there to unpack. I mean, it's a great episode when you watch it, but then when you start thinking about the implications of what they're showing you and how they're actually trying to make sense of some of the things from some of the last couple of movies that maybe didn't make as much sense as they should have, or you shouldn't have to read a novel to figure out.
Right. And also the focus didn't need to be exclusively on him. This wasn't him coming back and, as in the first season saying, oh, these people are my allies, so I'm going to pull them in for an adventure I'm going to have. I need backup. No, he was the backup.
Right.
And, this was about somebody else, but it still moved his story forward. You can't stick your hand out and look for help all the time without extending help. And that's what this was about. So he had to do the same thing back in return for what they'd done for him. But it also I thought it was really well done and very different than the other three episodes. So,
but they literally, they took a through line from episode 1 through episode 9.
Yeah.
In one scene. It was like, holy, what am I seeing? It's like, midichlorians up to freaking cloned emperors all in one scene. You really sort of threw all of Star Wars at you.
And if I can say, and you guys know, I like all of the movies almost. There's one I don't like, but
finally, see, what he used to like that. We changed it.
What they did in like a 3-minute sequence made more sense and helped explain things better than they did in an entire movie.
Yeah, I will say to that.
Saying about the clones? I thought that was explained in Rise of Skywalker.
I don't. I think that we now we know what they wanted the baby for. We have a better sense of how they might have been, doing experimentation and things in order to help to build the clone emperor's body, to get to, get through Snoke and get to the clone. But we got all that in a. And maybe it's because we had the setup from the films, but it just, to me, it was so much more cohesive, so much more coherent.
They're going better out with all this
think
shit.
It's easier to look at something that they maybe didn't do well and go back and fix it than it is to insert something new from scratch.
Yeah.
No, that's fair.
Editing is easier than storytelling.
It totally is. And even just like a callback that puts something in context is a whole lot easier than establishing something in the universe. So I think
that.
But you have to do it right, and they did do it right. So
it was efficient.
And, I love JJ, but the way that
it's
Favreau,
a really good way of putting it.
The way that Favreau did it, and with Filoni, it's and I know that JJ had his own challenges in making that last film, but this just puts so much more context around that whole. And again, it even brings back in stuff from the Phantom Menace with the midichlorians. And I was glad that they called them M count instead of midichlorian count. Because I think that was their way of softening it, and that worked.
Well, and it's also more real to how you do it. Honestly, the one thing that my friends and I always goof on from the first season of Mandalorian is in the last 2 episodes, the number of times they say the word E-Web heavy repeating canon.
Yeah.
And it's just like everybody who talks about it, Gina Carano says it, Moff Gideon says it. Yeah. Like, no, they would just say they got a cannon. You know, it's like, it's not, they got an E-Web heavy repeating canon. This is an E-Web heavy. It's like, okay, guys.
Yeah, no, they would totally be an acronym for that.
Yeah,
or it would be an
they
E-cannon,
would, of course, they would say M count. And I think that's stuff that sometimes gets under my skin in all sci-fi is when they throw in something for the fanboys and they do something where they're saying something really explicitly, and it's just, you know, feels like a hard wink. Whereas that was a much more natural way to weave that in.
Yeah. And where that works is when you're typing a script, where it doesn't work when you're doing it out loud.
Yeah.
And you say, oh, God. I said that like 7 times.
Carrie and Harrison used to say, it's like, you know, George, you can write this stuff,
you can write this, but you can't say it. And that's just it. Yeah.
And that's it. And it's good stuff. And it's stuff that the fans want to hear, but do it in a way that, you know, has a little bit of style, and it'll go over better for everybody, and it won't make
it definitely seems like they're doing it that way this season. I mean,
one of the smallest little details that just thrilled me to no end was we've been seeing those Imperial code cylinders since Star Wars in '77.
That was
actually fun. See them use one.
I was thinking that myself. I was thinking, like, is this the first time we actually saw? You know,
no one. They're like, just stick something in the pot. I love the way that's 45 years ago. They're like, get a bunch of those, stick them in their pockets. They look cool. And here's freaking Favreau making something the same with the freaking ice cream maker.
Tono,
and what was nice about the code cylinders is they didn't call it out, they just did it, because that's what you would do in a real universe.
Here, use this.
You would get it and you would do it, and leave it to us to put together that.
And the fact that they stuck the thing in there, pulled it out, and then still had to push the button, that's exactly how Imperial design would be.
Yes.
It would be like, okay, you're still going to switch the button.
Yeah. It just feels mechanical and real too to do that.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise it's just, you know, boop, and you're done.
Yeah. How thrilled were you to see the Walrus Man group of Walrus
It was pretty
Men?
cool. I feel like for me, they were more I guess they only had the one set of eyes, so that was kind of cool. But they had the tusks like the prequel ones, which was interesting. I would have loved to have seen the translucent tusks like the first Walrus Man had, where it's almost like they're these clear domes with like spaghetti under them. They're really, really weird when you get looking at them up close. But no, it was definitely cool to see them. And I love just the various grunts and sounds they made in the fight. Like, you know, it all worked. It didn't sound like they were recycling the same sound over and over again, which sometimes happens. Like, it was really awesome. I thought that was cool. I thought, you know, seeing the troop transport in action was, you know, everything we ever did as a kid in the sandbox, you know.
And there were a lot of sound effects in the sound design that were pulled straight back from the 70s and 80s, that like the warning sounds in the ships and in the TIE fighters and all that. It's
interior sound of the TIE fighter is a very unique sound and immediately takes you back.
Yep. Yeah. One of the things I loved was the speeder bikes going down that hillside and it not looking, you know, it was pretty sketchy and it looked pretty sketchy. It was like, you can do this, but we don't advise you do this.
Right.
You know, it was like this, it was, but it was great. It didn't look like, now they can they can levitate and they can lower to the ground.
And when I watched the episode a second time, 2 of those guys wipe out immediately.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. These were not being used as suggested.
Yeah.
The third one actually puts his foot out to try to steer himself away from crashing into the rocks. Like they really.
That's called the outrigger.
It was sketchy. Which was great.
You know, he does an outrigger, and it looked like they were on dirt bikes.
I mean, that's a way to turn an ankle, though. So be careful, kids at home.
Exactly, absolutely.
You don't want to hurt yourself.
Did you guys catch? Because I didn't see it the first time. My son pointed it out to me. as they're going into Grief Karga's office, there's a statue in the background of IG-11, like a memorial statue to IG-11.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I saw that. Yeah.
I saw something about it online. I didn't catch it in the show, but that's
I didn't either.
Neat.
My son was like, "Did you see that? There's a statue of IG-11." And we wound it back, and yeah, it's clear as day once you know to look for it. It's like
I will say this:
are you sure you didn't just buy another one of those?
No, it's a statue of him. Like, he's like the hero of that planet.
Oh, I know that, but what I'm saying is is it? Yeah.
The thing that I've noticed this season is, or the thing I haven't noticed is the volume. Like I'm not looking at this during these episodes and going, oh, well, there's the video backdrop. Oh, that's where the video starts and where the practical ends. They're really freaking seamless with their effects this time.
I
feel like the worlds are huge that they're doing.
It was like they knew when they showed us how they did it that they had to up it so that we couldn't spot it.
Right. You got to think about during the whole COVID lockdown, they had a lot of time to do post. There was no excuse to not have this be really, really sharp because
even the episode with the banthas going through the desert, like, I mean, it looked like they were on location. There was seamless.
And that the practical bantha was just so nice to see. Yeah. That was really cool. And I know one shop that did some work on it. I think Legacy did all the finish on it, but it's just so nice that they went practical with that, and they were able to make it do more than the original did, but still be totally faithful to that original design.
Yeah.
That felt like they pulled it off the set from '77.
Well, and I think we had commented in season 1 that we saw Tuscans, but they didn't look quite right. And in this season, they look really good.
Yeah.
Like I thought that they really nailed the Tuscans.
I think
probably various tribes.
They definitely they have the prequel Tuscan vibe. They have the smaller head with the scarf.
Yes.
I always go for the classic myself with the little more oversized mask and the no scarf thing. But I also I get from a practical point of view why they would go in that direction, and it gives you a little more flexibility and stuff. And it's also a look thing. Maybe somebody looked at them and were like, okay, these are the ones we have the best reference photos for, so this is what we'll base it on. I find that happens with a lot of series. The more episodes they have, as they take a second, or rather, as they take their third bite at the apple on something, it's almost always based on the second one, not the first. Because the first one is the one that goes by that they never take good photos of.
Yeah.
The second one they take beautiful photos of.
Right.
And then when they go to make it the third time, it's kind of like how in marketing materials for Star Wars stuff, you always see the episode 3 Chewbacca for the longest time.
Yeah,
that was the Chewie on every piece of marketing. And it's because they had beautiful photos of the episode 3 Chewbacca. Yeah. And now that Chewie's been in, all the sequel trilogy stuff and the solo movies, you see those all over the place. But really the Star Wars Empire Jedi Chewie, there's a bunch of photos of him in the archives, but not the ready to crop out on a perfect white background, just him alone picture that marketing people look for. So it's easy to look at these style guides and know who's going to grab what. It's like, oh, yep, there's the picture we're going to. But so, I wonder if that isn't what happened with the Tuscans, if they're not, going, oh, well, these are the ones we have the best photos of.
Yeah. And
did you guys catch?
These are the ones that we have, costumes of in that we could actually pull. Maybe they didn't have to start from scratch.
True too.
Yeah.
There's the original trilogy ones are in the archives, at least a few of them, and they're extremely cool. We got to spend a lot of time hands-on with those a few months before the whole COVID thing hit.
I saw those. One of those, I guess, in that Magic of Myth tour from years back. They had one of those. Yeah.
And that was the sort of Bantha Rider robe with the cummerbund sort of sash. And what's neat is that robe is one of the outer robes from the guys who attack Luke. So the guys who attack Luke are wearing a more canvasy kind of underrobe, not a woven underrobe. And then they have a big woven cloak over top. And the 3 guys have 3 different weaves. And this is the thing I love about that first movie. And this is one of those things that goes back to the first. Nothing's uniform. and there's diversity even within. It's not like Tusken Raiders aren't wearing military outfits.
They all don't go to Tusken Raider
they're
supplier company.
Yeah,
analogous to like Bedouins. There's no uniformity to what they're going to have.
So you look at the first Star Wars, and you've got the 3 that attack Luke. Each one of them has a different shaped gaffy stick. Only one of them has the one we know. And what was nice in Mando season 2, episode 1, is they had the other styles of gaffy stick in there too, which was really cool. And then, so of those 3 guys, they each have different pouches. They each have different textures on their outer robes. They have the 2-layer robe thing. And then when you go to the Bantha Riders, they must have sent over what they had, not had the underrobe. So they just took one of the outer robes and like put a belt around it and then, made that into what looked like kind of, I guess it almost looks like a bathrobe when you do it that way.
Yeah.
But it probably also makes it easier to ride an elephant, I guess, with only one layer. But so it's just neat, you find this stuff and you're like, oh, initially I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's the Bantha Rider robe guy. But then you can you trace back and you're like, oh, that started out here. Now that's that. Anyway, I digress.
Not that he gets into this deeply at all. I mean,
no, never.
Right. Yeah.
Did you guys catch in the first episode? And I know you already talked about the first episode. We're supposed to be talking about the new ones, but
that's fine.
The on the back of the Boba jetpack, there is a metal plate riveted in place, and it's covering the damage that was done when Han Solo hits him in the jetpack.
Oh,
that's awesome.
I did not see that.
It's in the exact right spot, and because the jetpack they used in the crash scene in Jedi, where he falls into the Sarlacc, and where he flies over and hits the sail barge, has a big gash in the back of it. And that jetpack's still around, and somebody knew that when they made the jetpack for the Boba armor, and they patched over that to make the jetpack work again.
That's the kind of stuff.
So that also means then that he used that armor post Sarlacc pit. It wasn't
somebody
abandoned
did
at
anyway.
That point.
Well, yeah, or somebody did, and someone repaired that. For all we know, the Jawas repaired it.
Yeah, it could be true too. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's like, that's like the R5 is got his little scorch marks where his bad motivator was.
When they were in that classroom, and they had the protocol droid teaching the class, while Grief Karg is talking, you can kind of hear what the droid is telling. He's teaching the kid, and he's telling them about the maelstrom and how that's the thing that's around Kessel. It's like they're literally talking about the elements of the Kessel Run.
I saw that.
Yeah, it was cool.
Nice.
I was trying to figure out, and I know my timeline was wrong. I'm like, that one little girl's got hair just like Rey. I'm like, that couldn't be Rey, but it couldn't be because she wouldn't be born yet. I don't think.
It's a popular hairstyle. Yeah,
it was the popular hairstyle. Did you guys catch in time? You know who he is. The guy Titus Welliver was.
Yes.
And I'm like, why does this guy, who's got a pretty decent career, doing it sort of a, smaller part?
He's Star Wars.
He's
a
huge Star Wars.
There's
no question.
He collects all Hot Toys, all Sideshow, all kinds of stuff.
Really?
There's a video.
He should
clip.
collect Regal Robot. I'm just saying.
He
probably does.
Should reach out to him.
There's a clip of him very recently on his Facebook page where he says, "I'm a collector first. I'm an actor second." Like
that's
awesome. He looks at himself as a collector.
Interesting thing with him too is he was also a significant character in Deadwood. So now this is like 2 episodes in a row where they've got actors that were in Deadwood in there. So
good stuff.
They are just every week they're doing something.
Well, and when our episode airs on Friday, we'll have a new episode, and this is the one that Dave Filoni directed, right?
Oh, it is. Okay.
We're expecting this to be where we see live action Ahsoka for the first time.
We're hoping.
And we're not 100% sure if it's whoever that girl is.
That's her name. Yes, well done.
Yeah, Rosario Dawson.
I think almost said Eva Mendes. I don't know why.
I think it's a fair bet that these rumors were true. I can't imagine it's somebody else playing her, but we'll see.
Interesting. That'll be great. They really are just. There's so many things. Did you guys see the thing with the guy standing in the
door,
in the side, and now they're even like, there's nothing that nerds more nerdier than us don't find and like make into a thing.
I'm actually wondering
online,
at what point that guy's going to disappear, because there's no reason that they can't just take him out now, right?
Oh, they will.
Oh,
just like
you
they did
don't
with
think
the
somebody
Wait,
saw
you mean
him?
like find him and kill him?
No,
Because that seems harsh.
well,
I mean,
no, they won't kill that.
Anger
That dude also
management.
appears in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's what I was
right,
just going
yeah,
to say
same
to you.
guy.
I sent you that picture. There's
I
that
think
shot
it's
of
the
that.
same guy. I think he's immortal.
right?
and
Yeah.
He just loves going back to movie sets.
Oh, he's
It's
one of these
Nicolas
people
Cage
that
being a vampire or whatever that was. You know?
through time, he just shows up in jeans and a t-shirt.
Well, who
Or
was
possibly time traveler.
somebody called him Stage Handalorian? I thought that was great. I thought that was pretty good.
Excellent.
It is surprising given how they scrutinize the stuff that they didn't catch that.
I wonder if they just like leaving it in just to like let's give people something to look at.
Right. You know what? To be honest, if I was doing a show right now, I would really consider doing one of those, because look what it did for Game of Thrones
With
that
the
time.
freaking coffee.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that stupid Starbucks cup. Yeah.
You know how many? It's like, look at all the mentions we're getting. Look at our our rankings
totally
are
think
way up
that.
this week.
Yeah,
And that was a rough season of Game of Thrones, so it actually gave people something good to talk about.
That was the best part of that season for sure. The
That
coffee
Starbucks cup
was
may have been
excellent.
the most noteworthy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Well, if you're not watching Mandalorian and you're listening to it, pony up your $4.99 a month and watch it.
They are hitting it out of the ballpark with this.
Oh my God.
And I will say, every episode I watch, I think of something else they should do. But I would love to see a mini series or a series with those three Mandalorians. Bo-Katan, and I mean, how cool would it be to see the three of them like on a focused quest kind of thing, trying to track down whatever, and you know, it was like
the
taking
first time that
characters
we've
right
had
out of the Clone Wars. It was perfect.
It's just the first time we've had that kind of consistency where somebody did the voice in a cartoon, and in two cartoons, right? She was in Clone Wars and in Rebels, and then for the actress to be able to play the live action version of it, it's just awesome that they were able to keep that, maintain that continuity.
But to see, again, my favorite thing in there was it's like, oh, it's at least 10 guys. No, it's 4 Mandalorians. Okay, that is equivalent to 10 guys.
I also love that they trapped them in the control room for the cargo. Like, that was just something that Imperials would do.
Yeah. Okay, another thing I will say that I really liked about the most recent episode is the blue dude is the first person, I believe, in Star Wars history to ever note that there's no guardrails. Those ridiculous catwalk. It's like,
Pam
not
was
even
just
any
saying
guardrails.
that, and then the guy says it. I'm like, no one thinks about that kind of stuff.
I swear my wife must think I watch these things ahead of time, and I don't. I try, we make sure we watch them together. But like, I'm looking, and I'm just looking at the little path to that thing, and I'm like, it's like 12 inches of foot space. Where's the guardrail? And then he says it almost immediately after. She gives me a look. I'm like, I swear it.
All of these things in Rogue One and this, all this, there's always this thing that they've got to go out and flip control.
Even in the original Star Wars, the two guys that are pulling the handle on the laser weapon are on this tiny little perch.
They get away with the shot, but it was just like,
how do you even get up there? You know,
that's the Favreau stuff. He's like digging into people. Like, let's make something out of something that people are, crosses their mind, even if it's subconscious.
I loved about that particular scene is that control panel on that thing looks so 1977.
Yes.
It was all things that you could have gone to Radio Shack and bought in 1977.
And that's really key. Yeah.
And that's,
you've got to have that 70s spirit. Absolutely.
The rockers with the covers, the flip down covers and all those things.
Yeah.
Even in that scene when they were in the office and the blue guy was saying, that he still couldn't see out of one eye after having been in carbonite. And it's like, you know, Han was blind after coming out of carbonite. Like all those little details are just so perfect.
Yeah. There's no complaints about that show.
Thankfully.
Well, yeah.
It's no Zardoz.
It's no Zardoz.
But you know what? There was so much dissension after every one of the last couple movies. You just don't see it with this show. It's like universally.
I will say, I keep going back to that.
It
is impossible to find someone who is legitimately a Star Wars fan who has anything to say other than the initial criticisms about some of the very short episodes, that has any problem with this. And I think I've met one person so far that says, yeah, it's just not for me. And I just immediately assumed that person was an idiot, and I haven't spoken to him.
And you killed them.
But even by 8 episodes, so it's 8, we're 12 episodes in. The whole thing with the child could have gone horribly wrong, and the fact that they managed to keep it
definitely could have.
So good, and everybody just, I mean,
a lot of really great child moments in the last episode too.
Oh, the whole opening sequence with the wires.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I'm like, this is a terrible idea. Why are you trusting him with this? This is not going to go well.
Like they swiped that from Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah, it definitely felt a little Guardians,
but it was still great. I mean, it was still even in that, because it's like, okay, well, you know, it's their property.
I want to see a Baby Groot and Baby Yoda fight.
I thought you were going to say buddy cop movie, but I mean, fight's pretty good too. Yeah. Maybe wait. Buddy cop movie, right? Culminates in a fight between the two of them.
They always do.
You know, because they've got a difference of opinion how to handle things. Baby Groot then has to go to the sergeant who chews him out, and he's like, Baby Groot, if I didn't know your uncle, you wouldn't still be on the force.
That's right.
I'd bust you down the parking meter, dude.
And Baby Groot looks at him
and is like,
it in the desk.
Yeah. Like, just slaps it down. It's like, I am Groot. And then, you know, storms out. And, you know,
that's the only problem with that movie is the only dialogue would be squeaking and I am Groot.
Oh, no, that's great, though. I'm telling you, I want to start filming this.
People interpret it their own way then.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
You're allowing people to have their own experience. This is very, very meta stuff. This is good. This is forward thinking. I like it.
Call Marvel.
Yeah. Someone
making a note of that.
Someone call Kevin Feige immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah, here's your crossover.
Here's how we get this conversation.
This is it. They said he was making a Star Wars movie. This must be it.
Yeah. Right. It's the Baby Groot and Baby Yoda buddy cop movie. I'm so down.
But the police captain's office, I am Groot. Take that back. I am Groot. You're going to regret that.
Yeah. It's like, I know you get results, but you got to follow the rules, Groot.
Awesome.
If they just remade the first Lethal Weapon with Baby Groot and
Baby Yoda,
it would be perfect.
Yep,
would be perfect.
I am getting too old for this shit.
Yeah.
What did you say? I am Groot. Oh, all right.
In
my experience, he's the Danny Glover character. I'm just saying.
No, I would go the reverse. I think Groot's got the attitude to be.
I agree with that. He's definitely the Mel Gibson.
Yeah, I think with the facial.
Well, and Baby Yoda is technically older.
He's
That's
older.
what I'm saying.
Years old.
Yeah. He's gonna be the one going.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Right. I am Groot. What do you mean I look younger with the beard? You know?
Yeah.
Who's going to come through and say they fuck you at the drive-thru? That's what I want.
I assume the blue guy, because he's really only one.
The blue guy, yes.
The blue guy's got to be the captain. Yeah. That would be good.
Oh, gosh. No. Grief Karga. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Carl Weathers is the captain.
Definitely the captain.
Yeah.
Wow, we've gone really.
We're going off the rails.
Off the rails here.
Off the rails
on the
or
rails.
On something.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
It's just so wrong. It's right.
Yep.
Why
don't we go some what's in the box? I don't know, Tom. Are you having a what's in the box, or are you not?
I didn't bring a box today.
Okay. That's fine.
That's all right.
Barry, what do you have in the box?
I've got a Hot Toys figure to show you guys.
Oh,
this is
We're
the
shocked
Jump Trooper from you guys' camera is completely washed out, but from Rise of Skywalker. It is a completely unique trooper design that It's very cool. He's got this awesome jetpack on the back, where the only real pops of color on this thing that aren't black or white are the jet engines on the back of this thing. They've really weathered them to look like they've been used. I don't know if it's coming through.
There's like burn about the edge, right?
But there's like burn. Yeah, there's definitely like bluing on it, like it's been used. Other than that, it's all very black and white. But there's nothing reused on this figure from like the 100 other troopers they've made. It's a very unique design. It's in the movie for like a blink and you miss it kind of thing.
That's why you have to have it.
Which is why I had to have it. Of course, I have my trooper addiction, but it's really cool. I mean, his gun is unique to any. It's like got a 3-barreled gun on it. I'll send you guys pictures of it, but it's a really cool figure. It's just, I ordered it. I don't know, like you do with all the Hot Toys figures, like a year and a half ago. I don't quite know where it fits into my collection, but I like them. So there you go.
That's all you need. That's the only thing you need when you're buying something.
Exactly. So that's what I've got this week. Todd, what's in the box?
Okay, so this is something I saw on Amazon yesterday, and I hold it in my hands today because that's how that works.
Gotta love Amazon.
Is the Blu-ray release of Batman the Animated Series. In this tiny little box is the entire animated series, a gajillion episodes, I think 109, plus 2 of the movies.
Oh, wow.
And I keep buying this, and each time I buy it, the package gets smaller. But I didn't have it on Blu-ray, and it comes with the digital versions. So I wanted that, and I love this more than anything in the universe. So I have it in yet another version. And if you get it right now, it's probably too late. It was like $79 on sale for like $39. So it's a really good deal.
That's crazy.
Bargain.
Yeah. So that was my thing. Dave, what do you got?
Am I able to share my screen?
You can try.
Because I have to show you guys a picture. Host has it disabled.
I have made you co-host.
Okay.
Hold on.
No.
It's confirming. Yes.
Okay. Am I? Wait.
Yep, we've got it.
Okay, for those of you playing at home, Dave is showing us a picture of an empty box lined with styrofoam.
Well, that's a big box.
Okay. This my what's in the box is what's not in the box. And sorry, Tom, you may not have a guess, but does Barry and Todd know what's not in the box?
I think I know what's not in that box.
What is not in that box?
The Stargate console.
The Stargate console was sold.
Ooh, wow.
After 10 years and being on various sales sites for multiple years, some guy came and picked it up on Sunday.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Wow.
Dave.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So, Tom, you may not know, but I bought this thing from an auction 10 years ago, paid not too much for it, but I paid more in shipping to get it from California to here.
Yep.
And it was ridiculous. And I never displayed it, maybe for a week. And it's been sitting in a box in my basement since then. And I was finally, after many attempts, able to sell it.
So let me ask you, are you satisfied?
Loss.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you, are you satisfied?
I am happy it's out of the house. I'm thrilled about that. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Do you have any pictures of it that we could, rather than showing an empty box, could we post a photo of what the console looked like?
Yeah.
Okay.
There it is right there. You see that?
No.
No. That looks like your car. That looks like your Corvette.
Looks like Pam's car and your Corvette.
Wait, isn't that the same picture? Oh, no. I guess I don't know how whatever. I have a picture of it. Yeah. I have a picture of it. Here it is.
Cool.
There it is.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And that's from Atlantis?
It's from the Puddle Jumper. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
So the guy who bought it came when he told me. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm willing to drive up." He lives in Lake George or near Lake George. So he comes. I'm like, "Oh, Lake George. Hey, how much do you love the Star Trek museum?" "Oh, I've never been there." I'm like, It's like 40 minutes from your house. You drove 3.5 hours.
They actually have they have Stargate. They have consoles from Stargate there in one of their side rooms. Yeah,
and ironically enough, he runs a pinball show, and shows props. I'm like, oh, I just sold my pinball machine the day before. But anyway, so that's what's not in the box.
That's a good thing.
2 large items have left your house in the last week. That's great.
I know. 2 things, yeah. 2 monkeys off my back.
Yep.
So.
All right. Well, sometimes you have to hold on to something for 10 years before you can finally get rid of it.
I still have the table that came with the Star Trek chairs that I could get rid of. That round conference room table.
Yep.
Yeah, you definitely need to get rid of that. I mean, the chairs are awesome, but the table doesn't do much.
Well, the table is the table they used in the series too, but I got nowhere to put it.
No. It's always tough. We obviously deal with tons of different props, one way or the other, whether they're costumes, hand props, set pieces, whatever coming through the shop. And when you're getting into anything large, there's a weird thing that happens. Sometimes you get pieces that are big set pieces that, just don't hold a value because they're so expensive to move around. They're so expensive to ship. And you wind up with, in general, a very limited audience when it comes to resale. There are definitely exceptions to that. Oh, stand by, and so excited to make that point, I knocked my mic off. There are plenty of exceptions to that, but general rule of thumb is, bigger pieces are usually not going to go as high as you'd expect in a prop auction. Because of everything that goes with, and there's definitely challenges in selling that stuff.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's funny because I bought this 10 years ago, and I did have another guy who lived in California who was very interested in it. And he's like, look, I'm just afraid of shipping. So we both looked in. I could not get a shipping quote less than $1,000 to get this shipped to California.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Especially these days. Hey, kitty.
Oh, sorry. That's Monsters decided he wants to be a part of the show. Okay, no, don't eat the microphone, buddy.
We love the animals.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. Now he's eating the microphone. No.
It's funny.
Say hi to everybody.
Hey there.
Hey, Monster. He's a great-looking tuxedo.
Yeah, he's a good little boy. He will definitely eat my microphone now. Hold on. There we go. Switching to the other side.
Okay. I'm curious if the stuff in the London prop store auction is all in London at this point.
It is, because legally for their auctions, if you're doing a live auction in England, you have to have the material in your possession.
Jesus. So if
they ship everything, a lot of the stuff for the London auctions are over there already, but anything that came from their US based thing, they will ship over ahead of the auction.
Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if you're paying way more shipping if you're buying stuff.
It's a consideration. I'm looking at a couple things in the auction. Everybody I know is, starting to take apart that catalog and look and say like, do I bid on this? And to me, it's definitely one of the factors to consider when you're looking at that auction. It's, if it's coming from England, you've got to bring it in. And then there's also the potential import duties, although a lot of times, if it's used movie material, it sort of falls under used vintage items sort of categories. And depending on what harmonized code they use when they send it to you, a lot of the times, there's not too much in the way of import duty. But it depends. Different items are going to get looked at different ways, and it's really sometimes very challenging to describe this to a civil servant who's not into the collectible side of this at all. And, it's like, well, what is it? And what's it made of? And you're just like, I don't know. It's a movie prop. It's not a real sword, or whatever it is you're trying to get in.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some pretty amazing stuff in that catalog though.
Yeah. Did you, I looked for something that the three of us could buy, and there was almost nothing except, did you find anything, Barry?
I wasn't looking in that way. I was just looking
but there is a lot of 3 Hawkman weapons from Flash Gordon.
Oh, I saw that.
Not that it's something I have to have, but they're low priced and there's 3 of them. So if we want to consider,
we have this habit of buying lots that have 3 things in them and then splitting them, like we do with Tribbles from Deep Space Nine and the Star Trek costumes.
I mean, the Flash Gordon stuff is all pretty cool, and it's all custom-made fiberglass stuff for the movies. Yeah, for that movie. It's not rental stock. It's not found items. Like, that's custom-made. Those are legit props, not just dressing or something like that. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's like some of the things that you think are like, oh, those may be affordable. I think the estimates are way low. Even those dopey things, like some background props from Flash Gordon, I guarantee they go for 5 times what the estimate.
Oh yeah. Well, I just they're putting this is a complete non sequitur, but Neil Peart's drum set from the first 4 Rush albums is going up for auction, and the estimate is $160,000. I'm like, that's going to go for $500,000 at a minimum.
Yeah.
You know,
I got to save my money for Tom Cruise's jacket from War of the Worlds to put on my Tom Cruise real doll. So
Tom may not be aware of how much of a love you have for Mr. Cruise. It's almost.
I think no one takes out a restraining order without knowing how much you love someone.
Well, if you
I mean, Tom Spina may not know how much.
Tom Cruise. I'm just glad you said Tom Cruise specifically and not just Tom.
Yeah,
it's just going to be creepy. Like,
don't mean to creep you out.
I am Groot and I'm out. Just
if any Tom Cruise stuff comes through the shop, I wouldn't mind coming by and scraping some DNA off.
I was going to say fine until you finished that sentence.
I would have gone with Scarlett Johansson, but okay, whatever.
Right.
We should bid on her dress and try to clone her. There is a dress of hers, like you showed.
There is one of her dresses in there. Yeah, I did see that.
Yep.
All right. Anyway, this can just go only in the wrong direction. So let's wrap this up. Tom, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Where can everyone see everything you've talked about and more?
They can go to regalrobot.com. They can go to tomspinadesigns.com, and they can follow at regalrobot or at tomspinadesigns all over the place. Instagram, Facebook, Twitbook, Twitface, Facerface. I don't know, all those places. Just go and
good things.
Go find us, follow us, and if you like all the stuff that Joe's like, you're going to love the stuff we do, and we'd love to have you as part of our extended family.
Exactly. There you go.
Yep.
Guys, anything you need to say?
I have a last thought. Okay. So after 23 years at my same job, this is actually my last week there. I'm moving on to another institution, and
not a penitentiary.
This past week we had my kind of going away thing via Zoom, because that's the world we live in. And my coworker Jason did the most amazing thing for me, and I'll give Barry part of this. He can add in the outro if he wants to. And he had Kevin Conroy, Batman from Batman the Animated Series, record basically a goodbye to me and thank me for my years of service as Batman. And Jason, who is an animator, pieced together pieces of animation from the animated series seamlessly. And I could not ever imagine crying while watching Batman, but I did. It was incredible. And anyway, so I'm about to begin a new chapter in my life, but this was just it's not quite a what's in the box thing, but it was one of the nicest gifts I've ever received.
Oh, I'm glad you brought it up, because you did share it with us, and I think I texted you. There's no way you got
calling
this
from
video
Wayne Manor.
Oh my God!
You will be missed.
And I've seen those celebrity things before where you reach out to them and they do the video.
I
it's
am
usually 30 seconds.
I am the night. I am Batman.
In the raw video, he recorded like 4 minutes, but then Jason took his raw
it's
video
not who you are
and edited it into
it's what you
clips of that
defines.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
And like I said, I was sitting there with my jaw.
And Batman has always got your back.
And
that's awesome.
So,
well, I'm glad you brought it up. We are very happy for you to start